All right. So, yes, welcome everyone. Welcome to this lightning lesson around opportunity sizing in Claude Code. My name is Hai. I work at a legal tech company called Entra, and I was previously worked at data science teams at LinkedIn, Nextdoor, Pinterest, Meta, all the big consumer tech companies. And Nextdoor was actually where I met my co-hosts today, Shravya and Sean. Shravya, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Shravya Madipalli. I lead the growth data science team at Superhuman. It was previously called Grammarly. I have around 14, 15 years of experience now. I majorly worked at Microsoft for 6 years. Moved to the Bay Area. I was in Seattle, Redmond, moved to the Bay, worked at eBay and Nextdoor. And like Hai said, Sean Hai and I met at Nextdoor and we want to do something in the world of data. And here we are. We started with a podcast, guys. You have to check out the podcast from the past. We also keep sharing some of these sessions later as well there. So if you want to check out any old sessions, definitely check that out. And AI Analyst Lab.ai is where you would find everything that's related to current workshops, courses, and whatnot. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Awesome. Sean is on the road today, so it's just going to be me and Shravya talking. So if you have any questions or if in between you have thoughts or comments, we'll drop links as well in the chat. Feel free to just like put things in the chat. Cool. So as Shravya said, we are from AI Analyst Lab. So this is a almost like an open source community where maybe many of you have seen sort of like we open sourced a repo called AI Analyst, and that's fully open source, fully free. That effectively turns Claude and Claude Code into a senior product data scientist who is very well versed in how to do sort of like analytics in Silicon Valley, let's call it. But it extends to many different areas. So today we're excited to talk about one component in the AI analyst repo to sort of like hit on this topic on opportunity sizing. In parallel, we also run courses. So we have one that's coming up actually next Monday on AI analytics for builders. This is a 5-week course where we teach people on the kind of like the analytical thinking and the foundations of how to become analytically very sufficient in your day-to-day job. So that's think of it as almost like a with execution delegated to AI. So think of it almost as like a condensed version of all our years of experience working in this field between myself, Shravya, and Sean. So combined to be probably over 50 years of of experience here. Uh, yeah, that sounds kind of crazy, but that's what we distilled into. And then we also run a boot camp, like a weekend boot camp on building AI analyst yourself. So we ran our first cohort just a few, no, a couple weeks ago or a week ago, something like that. Very soon, and or very recently. And I think maybe some of you have taken it, and it was really fun. So the idea was really to get people to actually building and then seeing for themselves kind of like what they're capable of in terms of building an agentic system in the context of kind of like the AI analyst. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll drop links throughout, and let's get started. Cool. Okay. So, has before I get into this, does everyone know what opportunity sizing even means? Drop in the chat. Just a quick yes, no.
Yeah. Just a yes, no.
Okay.
I
Otto
do it all the
says I do it
time.
all the time.
That's
Nice.
awesome. Time to
And
time.
to Sam, yep.
Okay.
No.
No,
Okay.
no. Nice.
Cool. Okay.
That's a good mix. Some of you, yes, no.
I got number here. Love it, Greg. Love it. Um, cool. Yeah. So, Yeah, so just to define it a little bit, opportunity sizing really is like, hey, if we were to work on X, how big of an addressable market are we serving? Meaning like, how do we translate that into something that's of a common language, usually down to the impact. Basically, it's like, hey, if I were to do this, what is the impact quantified? So I think the kind of like in on this slide, uh, there's a I think Greg kind of hit on it. Um, Most of your opportunity sizing is a almost like a made up number, at least for people that I worked with. I mean, like, different people are different in terms of how rigorous they are in terms of the sizing opportunity. But many of them is actually a, let's call it like a made up number or like a pie in the sky sort of number on a slide deck. So on the left, many of the sizings could look like something like, pick an optimistic assumption and then multiply it by a very big total addressable market, and then put it in a slide, and then hope nobody asks kind of like where the numbers come from. Like nobody asks you to decompose, like, hey, what's your assumption and whatever it is. So typically you'll see that in the form of, hey, this is a multi-million dollar opportunity, or this is a $10 million opportunity, something like that, right? On the right, which is where we want to get to in terms of being rigorous and being thoughtful and thorough in how we're thinking about these things, is that it should always be a formula that separates kind of like what's assumed and then what is the actual math that gets you to like a believable number. And then all you're doing is checking the inputs, like figuring out which inputs are grounded, which ones are assumed, that then you can always debate and like have judgments around what it should be, and things like that. So kind of like on the right side is what we're trying to get to in this lightning lesson, and that's part of some of the skills and agents that we encoded into the AI Analyst repo. Okay, cool. So when we boil it down to like, hey, what does that actually even mean? It's pretty simple, right? Like it's, think of it as like one formula, just three inputs, and that's it. You land at the impact at the very end of this formula. So the first one is stated very simply. It's like how many users or transactions are actually in scope that we're affecting. So if you were to make a decision on doing something, you probably would know like what is the subset or what is the audience that you're hitting that would benefit from the change that you're thinking about making. So that's one, just like the baseline number for what that number is. And generally this you can calculate, right? Like you can pull from a user base, you can count how many actions or whatever it would be affected. And then number two is the rate of improvement. Like, what do you believe could be possible to actually drive the change in that number that you're looking to move? So, this could be anywhere from like 0 to 100%, or even higher. Like, for example, like, hey, I want to double my conversion rate or something on some sort of product flows. That's totally fine. And mostly you just have to figure out kind of like, either based on experience, based on industry benchmarks, based on what's believable, what that improvement rate could be from a sort of like like not a made up sort of way. So you can always ground it as well in prior context. But that's the second component here. And then number three is the value per unit. We call it the value per unit. So if you could translate what you're doing into dollars, what would that be in terms of every single unit that you are able to sort of like lift in the improvement? And so, pretty straightforward. If you just multiply through this whole formula, then effectively you have your impact dollar amount. And then what you're doing effectively is like looking at these three components and then figure out how to get data to kind of like plug into this thing and perhaps even construct a range of possibilities, given given the movements of each, like given the range of each one of these. So impact formula, users affected times improvement rates times value per unit. That's hopefully that is pretty straightforward to folks. Okay, cool. So let's walk through some of like the good versus bad examples of each of these, and then we'll get into some other examples, and then at the end or towards the end, we'll get into kind of like the AI component, Claude Code. So the first one is users affected. The bad example, which actually I hear a lot myself. Perhaps some of you might have heard it in your day-to-day as well. It could sound something like, "Hey, all our users would benefit," or something like, "Hey, a big portion of our population would be affected." I hear that all the time, especially coming from, like for example, some of perhaps marketing teams or like teams that aren't used to sort of like thinking in terms of numbers. What a good example could be is like, hey, we have 12,400 monthly mobile users who started the checkout flow but don't complete. Like that's really concrete. That is grounded in data. So like literally the difference is extremely vague versus extremely specific. Same thing for the second row here. If you look at it, improvement rates. The bad example here is we think conversion will double. Like, I mean, totally fine. Like we can think what we think. So that's never wrong. The better believable part of it is something like, hey, mobile checkout conversion rate is 33%. Desktop is 52%. So do you think it's plausible to close half of that gap, which would get us to 42%? Like that is a lot more concrete in terms of what the range of possibility is. And like if you pick a number between this, that would be way more believable than let's say like, hey, conversion rate will just double. So it's like 100% or whatever. That's just not how it works. And then the third component here is the value per unit. So bad example could be, hey, each conversion is worth a lot. So the question is, what does a lot mean? And again, like in terms of thinking in the range of possible numbers, a lot does not give you anything specific. So always think like, like on the right, which is a good example, is that, hey, today our average order value is 67% or $67 at 75% margin. So the per conversion, it's worth $50, something like that. So now, if you just kind of like multiply these three together, and then each one of these, you have the confidence, just like what we just went through, then probably it's going to be a lot more convincing whenever you present your case for why we should or should not invest in certain improvement sets or feature sets. Does that make sense to people? Cool. I saw in the chat someone says would accept. Oh, would not accept. Okay, I heart attack for a little bit. I thought someone says their CFO would accept worth a lot.
Also,
That's actually
everyone,
worth it.
please, give your comments or any questions in the chat as well. I can keep answering, or I can like whenever high pauses, we can take any of the like important questions. We do have Q&A at the end though, but just saying.
Cool. Yep. Awesome. So, coming back to another question here, or I guess another scenario here, let's call it like, so imagine you have like a e-commerce company, and we're gonna get into an example company like that in our Claude Code session as well. In that, think like Amazon, and then you have a feature for save for later. So it's something like, hey, I don't want to buy now, but I don't want to pick again in the future for the stuff that I'm interested in. So like, I have a save for feature later, and it's a $5 million opportunity. And then the pitch here is lots of users browse but don't buy. If we add the save for later, more of them will come back and purchase, and this could be huge. Sounds pretty reasonable on the surface, right? Now, because you've seen sort of like, hey, how can we be concrete in the previous couple of slides? That is actually that actually adds to the credibility of like, hey, if we can improve it in a numbers grounded way, then this would become even more effective in terms of a pitch. So how would you do that? Just some examples here. Again, if you look at those three components, what is the users affected on this in this sentence? It is extremely vague. The users affected here is lots of users. So, like not that's not very helpful. And probably people aren't going to be patient about, listening to pitches like this. The fix is be concrete. So 28,000 monthly users who viewed 3+ products but don't add to cart. Like that is extremely specific, very concrete in terms of the addressable market, like right off the bat. Second one on the improvement rates, again, like very vague here, more of them, like we can get more of them to come back. Well, what happens if you attach a number to it, like a believable number? So it could be 8 to 12% recovery rates, which comes from an industry benchmark. So you're not making that number up. It is grounded in something, some sources. That would be a lot more effective than just like, hey, more of them, or like it'll be great. And then the value per unit, the vague part is could be huge. Yeah, anything could be huge or it could be small, it could be anything. The way that you add credibility to it is, again, attach a number to it that is grounded in some sort of experience or data that you already have. So $45 average first purchase from recovered users. That itself would just complete this whole flow and make this pitch a lot more concrete for whoever the recipient of the pitch is. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Uh Maybe drop in chat. Um A or B, which one do you think is better? Well, I mean, well, yeah, I'll let you judge. A or B. Oh, well, I gave it away. Who's gonna say B? Or who's gonna say A? B is better, B is better, B is better. So this is a trick question, guys. It's not B is better because B doesn't have a pitch. I'm just kidding. It's yeah, I forgot to actually make a pitch out of it. But the idea is there. Like I think you guys got it. It's instead of like no trail, like instead of a pitch that's non-traceable, like think of it that way, have something very specific that every single assumption could be discussed or could be debated by different people. And then as long as you present your first version of how you arrive at that at the beginning, that's going to be almost like setting the anchor for what the recipient would ultimately probably like latch onto, if that makes sense from a psychological perspective. So, like the more that you can ground your things or ground your opportunity size in as many verifiable sources as you can, then the better. Okay, cool. Okay, so a quick plug. What you just saw is one lesson out of, I believe we have 100 lessons in AI analytics for builders. This is our 5-week full course around um, kind of like developing the fundamentals and the foundation of what good analytical thinking and judgment should be. And while delegating sort of like the execution of analysis of the analytical workflow to AI. So this is yeah one out of 100. I think plus or minus 10. Let's call it that. But we have a lot of framework. We have a lot of practices, and we have a lot of a bunch of stuff in it that starts next week. So next Monday is our day one of this course. You guys, if you are interested in signing up, 30% off for attending the lightning lesson. And what you're going to learn in that course is framing questions, using Claude Code as your AI analyst, defining metrics, debugging funnels and root causes, and then almost like like design experiments, size opportunities, storytelling, how to convince people based on the outputs, how do you drive decisions, things like that. So lots of framework. Again, encoded based off of our 50 years of experience. We're giving our age away, but that's cool.
And one thing I want to add to that is you'll get the repo. We have a free repo right now that you could use. Like you all should definitely check that out. I'll share the free repo link as well. But you'll get an advanced version of that repo, guys. And it is pretty mind-blowing the amount of things that the repo could help you literally do today. So to understand that, you should check out our free repo once. I'll share the link right now. But if you're part of this course or the any other course, we'll basically continuing to add what we are learning into that repo. So currently it has up to 50 skills and 50 agents. They take any workflow and make that AI workflow. So you'd get that repo, you could take that repo, plug into your work and start using it. So that's something that you'd get as part of this course too.
Yep. And yeah, and we open sourced sort of like the AI Analyst repo as well. That's free, just not as powerful as the kind of like the one that we share in the course. But you can also feel free to check that out as well. It's totally accessible. Okay, cool. So let's see. So you learned the formula. Here's a prompt that can help you check kind of like, what's missing whenever you need to, or whenever you get kind of like a proposal or a pitch from someone else, like what should be included. So I can, let me just, I'll share this with all of you. Like I'll send it out later after the course, along with the recordings. But like, before we get into Claude Code, this is kind of like a very simple prompt that all of you, and we'll actually look at it together to kind of like to see how that works. So let's see. Do you guys see my Claude web?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. All right. So I am going to paste in. Okay. Before I get there, let's analyze what this prompt, or let's look at what this prompt does. So this is like defining Claude to be like, hey, you're a senior product analyst reviewing opportunity sizing. Um, and the opportunity is, and we'll paste something in here, like whatever pitch you get, that's sort of like the opportunity. And then evaluate it against each of the components that we just talked about, right? And then for each component, give me a rating of, is it clear, is it vague, or is it missing? And rewrite the opportunity with specific numbers and why you would flag it the way that you did. So roughly, that's kind of like the setup for what this prompt does. So you can fire up your favorite chatbot, anything like you can fire this in Claude Cowork, ChatGPT, Gemini, anything. So I just have Claude open. So I pasted it in this guy, same thing. Formatting is a little weird, but that's okay. So you remember there's a role, there's an opportunity, and then this whole thing. So let's just see what happens. Um, Let's see. So a question about why Claude and not ChatGPT. You can paste it in any chatbot you want, like literally anything. Grok, Gemini, anything. So this would just work. Okay, cool. So let's see. So it basically evaluated this opportunity pitch that we gave it. We should improve our mobile checkout experience. It's clunky and we're losing sales. Like I didn't give it anything else, just this line. So it says, okay, in the components of users affected, that's super vague. So we're losing sales means nothing about scope, who are these users and stuff like that. So it gives you the critique around why it's why it's vague and then how you can fix it. So concrete estimate to plugin for a mid-size company e-commerce sites, assume 500K. So a lot of these are assumptions, but like it gives you an idea how to sort of like plug in the numbers yourself and why it's doing the judgment that it's doing. Number two, improvement rate is missing. So clunky is a clunky is a vibe, not a benchmark, according to Claude. So there's no definition for what clunky means. But here's how you can anchor it. For example, internal, you can have a conversion rate on desktop versus mobile. experiments, if you have run any prior A/B test around checkouts, industry benchmark, these all look very reasonable and is exactly kind of like what most people are probably gonna anchor themselves on. And then again, number three here, value per unit, that is also vague. Losing sales implies revenue, but doesn't quantify it. No average order value, no margin, no LTV, long-term value consideration, stuff like that. And then it says, okay, for a really good um, pitch, here's a full, well, that's a very long one. Here's a full sort of rewrite that gets extremely specific about each of these components. So feel free to play around with it. Send it out to all of you guys. And plug it into any chatbot. And the next time when you hear something about opportunity sizing, especially Greg, you can plug it in here and it'll tell them what they need to come back with. Cool.
Uh, Hi, a couple of questions. Do we take
Yes.
them quickly now? So the first one is, why is the role important in prompt? Naveen asked this and Otto gave a very good response, but maybe something quick.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so LLMs generally are sort of like a world knowledge, think of it that way. And if you ground it at the beginning of what their role is, it almost makes them very specialized right from the beginning. So it goes from, hey, I know everything, I'm very generalist, to like, okay, let me look straight into just this slice of role that you're assigning me as. So definitely try it out and see what the differences are. That's generally been sort of like the a prompting technique from the very beginning of LLMs.
The question I have was the same question could be coming from a finance person, could be using it. It could be a product manager, a senior product manager.
Yeah,
Everyone does opportunity sizing. So if you say that only the product analyst will give you this answer, a finance person answer will be different, that doesn't make any sense.
yeah. I mean, I could see that. I could see their answer should be the same. Actually, that's a really good idea. Like if we try it out on having it take on a different persona, it'll be interesting to see what that looks like.
So
Can we do it
Naveen,
now? Can you do it now? Maybe change.
I do want to show you guys Claude Code. So this one is more like almost like a starter to so that everyone has access to the chatbot.
So, Naveen, you'll get access to all these, prompts. You could definitely try it out. Like Hai said, you will see a different persona. So, as soon as, let's say you're a junior analyst with senior analyst, you'll have slightly more nuance and flavor to it. I would probably think as an LLM, that's what that would do as well. So, if it's a deterministic answer, then probably the exact number would slightly be the same, but the flavor in which they share it is probably going to be different. And the reason why we give personas is for LLMs to make the scope down as easy as possible, so that it thinks in that direction of a product analyst, right? But product analyst does have product and analyst in it, so it could pick up things like a product manager too. But yeah, you can ask these questions later as well. There's a Slack community. I'll share the Slack community, Naveen, so you could join there and ask these questions, and we'll try to answer them too. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Because I'm a director level and I want to understand, is there a difference now coming around here? If I'm going to ask my team to use the LLMs, the people could have been asking different questions with different levels. And at the end, you have to have the same answer. You can't have an answer coming from an analyst, one number, a product manager.
Oh, absolutely. You hit on a very important topic. That's literally what Hi and I we do as part of our work too. So the validating systems and how do we ensure that the answers are deterministic. So that's a big topic that we could discuss maybe in the Q&A, or it could be in the Slack channel, Naveen. I can share the link. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you for that question. So let's get into Claude Code. Let me find where my thing is. Share. This one. All right, cool. Can you guys see my screen here?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a black? Yeah, okay, cool. So I am for those who are familiar with IDEs and text editors and Claude Code in Terminal, this is my setup. This is VS Code. So think of VS Code, for those who are not aware, VS Code is one of the IDEs out there. So on the left, I have file explorers, folder explorers. On the bottom, I have my terminal. And then on the top, I can preview any of the files and see what actually is inside. So this is my setup for Claude Code. We go into it in the courses and boot camps and things like that. But if you use Claude Code yourself, find whatever setup that's best suited for your use case and for how you feel comfortable doing it. This is the way that we all are pretty comfortable with. So that's sort of like the intro to what we're doing here. And because did people follow the news yesterday? Claude Opus 4.7 dropped, right? Because of that, I'm actually going to do something very different here, which I'm going to have Opus 4.6 and Opus 4.7 side by side. So we can all take a look at kind of like what the differences would be given the same sort of setup. Let's see. So, and for those who are not aware, when Opus 4.6 came out, that really crossed the chasm around the analytical capability of AI/Claude that makes a lot of the AI analyst repo, skills agents and its ability to become like a senior product data scientist possible. So, if you sort of extrapolate all of that, then 4.7 is only going to become more capable with the harness of AI analyst. So on the repo here, we have AI Analyst Plus. This is the souped up version of the AI Analyst that you see in the open source repo. So this one has gotten a lot more, like more agents. So there's a lot of these, for example, like deck builders, Google Slide reviewers, and things like that. It's got a lot more skills. And for those who are not aware, skills and agents think of it as like, it can go and do stuff. Skills would almost be like the recipe for how things should be done, for example. So the combination of these things make sort of like a complete harness for this repo to act like a senior data scientist. Okay, cool. Enough of that. I'm going to fire up side by side. So I'm going to split my terminal. You guys see a left and a right side, right? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to fire up Claude. Never done this before, so we'll learn together what it's going to look like. Oh no, what? Claude.
Oh,
That can't be the case. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the same computer, so
that's it.
oh, cool. So I have side by side. Right now, as you can see, I'm in Opus 4.7 here. So I'm gonna make the right side. Um, let's see, model. Oh, I can't go back to 4.6. How do I switch to Opus 4.6? So I don't know how to switch back to Opus 4.6 since it's not available. So I'm asking Claude to do it for me. So run model and pick Opus 4.6 or type model Opus 4.6 directly. So I'm just going to do that. Oh, well, yeah.
Interesting. I was trying to do this. So this is something that we basically get for if we try to do things live. And
Oh
I,
no. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we don't have 4.6. We only have Opus 4.7 now.
they absolutely replaced it. We had it in the
Yeah.
morning.
I guess Claude Anthropic moved too fast. Okay. Anyway, okay. Well, I guess not. Then let's just look at 4.7. Let's see. I'm gonna exit this one. Go terminal. Okay, so over here, just a little bit of a setup. We have in the AI Analyst Plus repo, we have a set of, or I guess a bunch of data, or like a data set that is based off of a fictional company called NovaMart. This is actually what we teach in the course and the bootcamp as well. Think of it as the thing that I just talked about probably 20 minutes ago. This is a fictional e-commerce company, think Amazon. So there's, like you buy stuff, you check out, and things like that. So it's got access to this this data set here. So I am going to let's see, walk you guys through step by step on what we're doing here. So what can you tell me about the NovaMart data set? So we're gonna have Claude Code help us sort of like lead us up to the opportunity sizing side of the house, but we're asking it to kind of like give us an overview of what this is. So it's done thinking. NovaMart e-commerce is an active data set, simulates an e-commerce company. It's got this many users, this many orders, this many events that is tracked over in 2024. And so it's got 12 tables and stuff like that. So notable patterns, it's got a checkout funnel. So if you add stuff to your cart and then you start to check out, you pay and you make the purchase and stuff like that. That's sort of like the some of the data that's available here. Now, let's see. So I'm interested. So I'm gonna give it my next question. I'm interested in let's see, check out conversion by device. Can you do an analysis on that? So right here, literally, I'm asking it to just give me a quick analysis around what are you seeing on a conversion rate basis by device. So like things like mobile, desktop, and stuff like that. And it will go do it based off of some of the skills and agents that we have encoded. And we'll take a look at exactly what it's doing in terms of the skills and agents that it invoked. Okay, so it's done. It says strong signal gap is concentrated in the start to payment steps. It's going to check for Simpson's paradox and see if there's any anomalies in there. So it says web beats mobile in every single channel. So you can always follow along as you kind of like let Claude Code do its thing. And then it runs into an error, but it's cool. It's self-healing, so it understands how to fix itself. It knows how to get around and or resolve kind of like errors that it hits. Okay, cool. So it's done doing its thing. So it says web converts at 40% from start to complete. iOS is 29%, Android is 28%. So mobile user is 30% less likely to complete than a web user. And then it gives me kind of like the breakdown of this in terms of where where the drop-offs are. So it lists out the entire funnel. So from start to payment attempt, from payment to payment complete, and then sort of like if you multiply them together, what is the conversion rate? So it gives me sort of like like a narrative on what it's looking at. So it doesn't just dump me the numbers. It does some sort of validation checks around whether this triangulates with other data points in the data set itself. And then it gives me the sources of where it's doing, or where it's getting stuff, and it's giving me sort of like, hey, what should we be doing next to either make the analysis more robust or explore more angles. So the next thing I'm going to do is, like this looks fine. What skills did you use to do this analysis? So I'm curious, like what exactly did you do to what did you use in this repo that help you kind of like do all of these instead of, like it could be many different ways of accomplishing the same goal. So it says didn't invoke any of the skill, but I apply principles from several skills. So it's got a question router, it's got a visualization pattern skill, we have a triangulation skills, and a whole bunch of other stuff. It didn't invoke any of the sort of like analysis design because it's a pretty simple question framing, guardrails, and things like that. So you can always ask Claude to be like, hey, what did you do? What helped you get to kind of like some of the final outputs? What was helpful? Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you this one here, right here, which is opportunity sizing. So on the left here on my agents, I've got where is it? Um, I have this agent called OpportunitySizer. So this one, basically, if I click into it, it's like, uh, hey, if I invoke this skill, it's gonna quantify the business value of an opportunity, um, or or do a sensitivity analysis and identify which assumptions matter the most. And then it's got like instructions for how Claude should be doing kind of like an opportunity sizing exercise. And so we're gonna use this to see what that looks like for this question that we have. So we looked at conversion rate by device. And right now, I'm interested in, hey, if we fix or if we improve upon the mobile checkout conversion rate, what would that look like in terms of, like bottom line and impact? So right here at the beginning, I am doing like I'm calling the agent, and then I'm giving it sort of like the parameter, like, hey, here's the question that I'm interested in getting at. Can you state your assumptions and what's believable? So we'll let it do its thing, and let's see. Do we have any notable questions here?
So one question from Greg was, did you specify the conversion metric somewhere? The final checkout from when item placed in the basket, or when user first hits the site, etc.
Yeah, so when you first load the dataset to the repo or to the AI analyst, it will flag sort of like, hey, based on what I understand, these are the metrics that matter, based on the column names, based on kind of like the context of the dataset itself. And then for anything that you're like, hey, no, that's not how you would do it, then you give it more context. So in this case, when it was first connected to the dataset itself, it figured out correctly. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so it's going to do some data polling for the sizing model. Like we talked about the three components in the impact model. What it's doing behind the scene is exactly trying to do that. Like, hey, can I get concrete in some of these components in that model, such that when I give you the sensitivity analysis or the opportunity size, I can explain it myself. Myself as in like Claude, not me. Let's see. Cool. So I guess Opus 4.7 is smarter, but it also thinks harder, so it takes a little longer than 4.6. Has anyone tried Opus 4.7 yet?
There's a chat going on with, I think Ankit has been talking about he's seen a difference in the information retrieval across like browsers. So I was just telling him that we need to do some deep research work over the weekend to get our course up and working for 4.7. So we'll know soon. But yeah.
Oh yeah, forgot to mention that for the 5-week course that we're about to start next week, we're actually going to re-record our week 3 to week 5 content because now Opus 4.7 came out. So we actually just finished recording, and so we have to like redo that. So any piece of analysis or demos or like exercises that we have students do in those weeks, if you're interested in joining us, when you see it, it's going to all reflect 4.7. It's a crap ton of work, that's for sure. But I think sort of like like we can't even get back to Opus 4.6 as you saw. So it would be disingenuous to be like, hey, here's the thing, and then like, 4.7, we can't really pinpoint the behavior. Okay, so let's see. So it's done its opportunity sizing. So basically, actually there's a report, so we can actually look at it. The main idea is that uh, it's got like a base case that it identify 15% relative lift on mobile conversion, and it says let's see, base case, bottom line, and like if you calculate those numbers, what it flows through, it also gives you a range of hey, if the pessimistic um, like assumption is 5%, then this means this much revenue, this much gross profit based on the data sets. If it's base, then it's this. If it's optimistic, it's this. So, and then what it could look like in terms of what level of effort we're talking about in terms of what's believable here. So it's also got some assumptions around the cost of doing this and so on and so forth. So it's also outputted a report for us to read. So we can actually check that out. Sizing, conversion. So it's this one. It's a markdown file, so it's very friendly to AI. But then for humans, I can just do a preview, and it will look much better, much easier for us to look at. So annual impact. So again, like that's the bottom line that it really calculates, kind of like the one pitch thing. Um, let's see. So top line revenue impact of almost 300K, 113 gross profits. If we assume some sort of engineering cost, confidence is medium. It's data backed from the starts. So the very beginning, how many people it touches, and then the average order value, and then the margins are all data backed. The lift magnitude is not as confident in. So gives you the full kind of like math around what these are in terms of in terms of actual concrete number based off of the analysis. So it's not like kind of like making things up. It's actually going into the data, doing the analysis like we saw, and then putting it up here. And where the lift assumptions come from. So it would tell you kind of like, hey, here's how I thought about it. Here's where the assumption would be, things like that. And then it will also give sensitivity analysis. And then like, it's right now it doesn't have a lot of context around the business, the data sets, or anything like that. So this is almost like a best guess based off of what it's reading from the data. Break-even analysis. It's got scenario analysis, base case, believable, what's believable, what versus not. So as a human with judgment, you're supposed to be the one that really be critical about some of these assumptions and what it's outputting. So it gives you a base, almost like a basket of things for you to kind of like think about. But it really stops at that. Like you shouldn't just take it and be like, oh yeah, that's all cool. Like I'm just gonna one shot it and use that as the end all be all. So final prompt for this exercise, I know we're running out of time, which is show me a sensitivity table of conversion rate lift versus average order value. So if we kind of like vary the assumptions in conversion rate lift, like what we can achieve, but also like average order value, because an incremental order may not be worth as much over time if we sort of like intervene like this. Let's see. Cool. So it would have kind of like it would have like a kind of like a 2x2 here. Actually, can you visualize this for me? I'm a visual person, so I can't really read these numbers myself too much. So I'm just going to ask it to do it for me. And the only thing I would say is 4.7 is pretty slow.
Probably everyone's hitting it right now. I've seen that happen. Uh, Yesterday, Claude was also down, right? Yesterday morning.
Yeah, yesterday
Yeah.
was down.
Yesterday, day before, I think. Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can take questions. I need to leave at 1, so I
I
do
know.
need to have a hard stop. So we can answer questions as this thing is training itself. Anything that you
So
think?
one thing that Jackie Becker wanted to ask, sorry, Jackie, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. She had a question. I think they had a question around, are you also connecting Snowflake or Looker to help with giving it more context or any other recommendations? I told her that this was around when you were giving Claude Web UI. I said it's mostly Web UI, but when we do Claude Code, then we do connect, is what I gave. So they asked like a deeper question, like, understood. So this example didn't have the connectors set up. I would love to understand what BI have you seen best results for pulling opportunity sizes together? Yeah, and they wanted to catch up on the recording later.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And in the boot camp and in the course, we also touch upon this pretty in depth. So context, domain knowledge is everything, right? Like Claude doesn't out of the box understand any of your company stuff or your what the strategy is, what the like what the roadmap should be, or what previous analyses or numbers were like. So one of the most important thing is to be able to connect it to context. So, like, and by context, we go beyond just the warehouse. Like we don't just think, data warehouse. Think Notion pages, Google Docs, emails, Slacks, everything. Everything with an MCP is not is context that you can actually bring in. And it's actually pretty straightforward to bring that in, as long as your organization approves, for example, like, AI security, legal use cases and things like that. Hopefully that makes sense. But like the more that you pull in from as diverse sources, even if they're not like numbers or like data related sources, it's gonna be game changer for your analyst to actually understand and give you much better answers.
One question from Ashwini before we go to Otto. Is this course relevant for a product manager who is not a data science major?
Yes, yes. Actually, we built it for non, or I mean, like, we built it with an audience for, like, the title for our course is called For Builders. So anybody who builds would be relevant. The idea is like, we want to empower people, whether you're data scientist or product manager or designer, to be analytically independent. So meaning like you have the foundations, you have the judgment from an analytics perspective to make decisions. And then we also teach you to kind of like delegate the execution to AI so that you can ask better questions, have AI do the thing, and then you make better decisions off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to what Hai said is anyone who works with data is going to benefit it from it. People who work with data would probably use these skills that they generated. So, because all of this is going to be around AI and Claude Code. So, data scientists could come and understand how they could use Claude Code to replace their workflows and get an understanding of these frameworks and get the repo that they could take and use in their work. And non-data scientists, like anyone who is not a tech data scientist, any data analysts, non-tech or product managers, they could understand what does a tech data scientist workflows look like and how do you use AI to do those workflows yourself and understand more. So yeah. Otto?
Yeah, hey there. Thanks for all of the amazing content. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I got a kind of a two-parter. I noticed you have a ton of agents and markdown files. When it comes to actually developing those, is the approach more so hybrid of like AI produced with human input? And then the second piece is, with this example that was being shown, is it fair to say that this is very bespoke to the actual data set of like NovaMart itself, which would be more realistic for like a business setting? Your AI is continuously learning on your data, producing the outputs. So hybrid inputs on markdown files, and is it more so bespoke to the actual data set where you can't really funnel it to other data sets?
Yeah, let me answer the second one, and Shravya, feel free to jump in if you have thoughts around that. So your AI analyst is going to be bespoke to your thing. Like if you're, like think of it as you clone it once, and then you start giving it context about your company, and then you develop it like that, almost like grow your data analyst alongside you with the context of your company and stuff. And then I will have no clue how you've grown your thing, but we teach you how to grow it, like basically, like how to grow it, how to set it up, how to add more skills, add more agents that would be relevant for your business, and so on and so forth. And potentially this could go beyond just like right now it's like product data scientist, but you can imagine the framework is basically transferable to financial analyst, marketing analyst, whatever analyst out in the world, as long as you have the expertise to be able to develop alongside with it and learn or help it learn. So, and relatedly to your first question, when we developed this, it is a kind of like hey, we know what the best practices are for analytics workflows because we've been doing it for so long. Claude itself, off the bat, also knows some, like how to do data analysis, for example. It's just not in the same way that like that someone has, decades of experience would do. So we basically give it all the best practices. We check kind of like, where it doesn't make sense, where it needs to be enhanced and stuff like that to make the version that we have today.
Awesome.
But
Thank you so much.
you can absolutely build a very similar system with your own expertise. So
Right.
it's all possible. So I think that's kind of like the main thing.
Yeah, I just imagine with new questions, you have the opportunity sizing. You could advance that to like Monte Carlo simulators and just keep
Exactly.
going and going and going. And it's all built around the root of the data set. So awesome. Thank you so much.
I think we could take one last question. Ashwini is asking live in-person lessons for the course. Like how does that course work?
Yeah, great question. So this is a hybrid. So we have the lessons recorded, so they're async, so you can watch them at your own pace. And then every week we have a kickoff at the beginning of the week, and then 2 office hours dotted throughout for people to come in, ask questions, or share learnings, or just powwow or like just talk to us. Like we're pretty friendly too, so we can definitely talk. And so that's kind of like the setup. But the lessons themselves are pre-recorded, and you can always kind of like go through them at your own, like however many times you want. And so that's the hybrid component of the course. And then what is the location? Location is online, so it would be virtual. Cool. I need to drop because I have a meeting with our Chief Marketing Officer. So, Shravya,
Yeah,
I think you
thank you.
can
No,
maybe.
I need to drop off too.
Oh, okay. Never
I have
mind.
work meetings as well. So we try to sneak these workshops in, guys, to give you as much value as we can. While we obviously have our day job. So really appreciate you all joining. We'll share all these resources with you all. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And yeah, we'll send a follow-up email with the recording and the resources and stuff. Thanks all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.